If you're experiencing an inexplicable sadness at times that just comes over you, and if you remember as a child having that in a strong way, where sometimes this huge wave of sadness would just come over you without anything bad happen, then this is probably for you. Then I encourage you to watch this. I can only talk about this because I know the feeling. And the way that it comes is it just kind of comes over you like this big, huge wave. And usually it's accompanied by thoughts like, how come that this world is the way that it is? How come that people can't see it? Why is there so much cruelty and greed and violence? And how come that people can't see that it could be so much more beautiful and kind and loving? And these are usually the thoughts that accompany it, and sometimes it goes deeper and darker than that. But there's a big reason for it, and I've always asked myself as a child, what is it that I remember? The thing is, if you experience this, then chances are that you are remembering something. And I really think you are, and I really think I am. And what we're remembering is an earth, if you will. I call it prime earth, and I'll get into this. It's an earth, and it's a reality where things are fundamentally different, but some things look similar as they do here. And here and there is not apart from each other, and I'll get into that too. But what that is we remember reality in a way where we're kind with each other, where things are fundamentally positive and beautiful and creative, where violence is not really known to us, where we co-create together, where things are much more easy and effortlessly, where the animal kingdom and humans and everything is working in a beautiful symbiotic way. We remember that. That is a memory because we've experienced it. This reality that we're experiencing now is foreign to us. It is not natural to us, and it is, for all intents and purposes, an artificial reality. The thing is, the space between here and there is no space. The other reality that we remember actually exists. And I believe that we can get closer to experiencing more and more of it when we elevate our state, and when we elevate our consciousness, and when we elevate everything about us. When we put ourselves into higher states of being, then we experience more of it. And even though I have said that this is an artificial reality, I still believe we need to live in it as though it were prime reality, because that is the path to it. This prime earth that I'm speaking about is maybe what some people in some traditions call paradise. Or, some people have called it the Garden of Eden, which I don't think is exactly the same thing. But paradise in a state of in a sense that we don't have the density, we don't have the heaviness, we don't have bodies that are as solid as these are. Distances do not mean anything to us because we have the ability to sort of travel any distance you could possibly imagine. And it's also a place where something like instant manifestation, if you will, might happen, where our thoughts are the creative motor, and at the same time, we experience that which we think about. As I remember it, it's an absolutely wonderful place. And this sadness that I spoke about is because we remember it, but we currently don't live it, or only glimpses of it. And this overcomes us at times, and it overcomes us as a feeling of despair. And oh my God, look at this world. How will we ever overcome this? And the reason why I wanted to share this with you is because the overcoming part, if we think about it in human terms, how can we change this world so drastically that it will resemble this paradise like world that we remember? That approach won't work. It's vibration, really. It's frequency. It's becoming a match with that prime earth, with that beautiful, natural, if you will, natural reality. And this here, I believe, is ruled by a technological um, entities that are using technological means to change and alter our perceptions, so that we only see the slowed down, the mimicked version of prime reality. And this is where our sadness comes from. Our spirit remembers, but our human eyes and our human ears, they see the world that we live in. And because, these senses believe this world to be real, we have this sadness in us. So I've learned in those moments to really go deep within, meditate, and remember that there is no distance to travel. We don't have to go anywhere out there. That prime reality exists at the same time in a different frequency as this reality. And that our shifting over is really the main task here. And we can only do that when we awaken from the slumber, when we awaken from the false programming, when we heal from that, when we transmute the fear and the worry and the violence and the greed and all these lower frequency emotions that keep us anchored into this false reality. I'm not saying, walk around and make everybody wrong and make all this, call it fake and artificial, and that's not going to help. We have to tap into the real thing more often and more often and more often and begin to sync up with it again. And I really think once we do that, our life experience changes to in a way that we begin living in a way where we see an expanded version of this reality. And ultimately, I think we will live in that prime earth reality again if we choose to. And I think this is what quite a few of us came here for, to remind each other, to help each other see that, to tell the stories in dark times, to pull out that memory when things get really heavy here, because that's what we need. We're inundated by storylines from movies to entertainment to books to podcasts. Everybody's telling stories, and so we can get lost in that. So we need to tap into the truth. We need to tap into this memory that is deep in us. It's in our spirit, and I think for some it's even a DNA memory, and begin to expand that again. So children, because they're so connected, experience this sometimes even deeper. And I remember as a child, clearly, I would fall into this deep sadness for like an hour or two at a time. And I couldn't explain why. I was so deeply sad. And I remember this. I remember thinking clearly, there must be some tool, some mechanism that when things get too bad would intervene. I imagined it as a child as there would be loudspeakers everywhere all over the world. And then a council of elders or wise elders would finally say, stop the war, stop the violence, this is enough, we're going to make this right again. And I think this was sort of the childlike version of a spiritual reckoning or a spiritual rebalancing, if you will. I realized that such tools do not exist in this reality, but in the spirit world, rebalancing and reharmonizing is already happening. So, these are my thoughts on it. And please do not give in to that sadness. It's like a sign that points you in a certain direction, and rather remember what it's trying to remind you of, because that's what really matters.
Your environment shapes everything: your thoughts, your health, your energy. But most people never question the invisible field they live in. We did, and that's when FLFE found us. It's not a product, it's a field of pure life force energy that lifts everything it touches. We now live in it 24/7, and we would love to invite you to experience it too. Start your free 15-day trial now. No pressure, no strings attached. Just the truth, resonance, and peace.